Hi friends, my name is Megan and welcome to episode 55 of A Naughty Mess Knitting Diary. Hi everybody, welcome to August 22nd. I feel a little loopy. I'm like filming early in the morning, but yeah, I've got things to talk about today. Progress, some acquisitions. I know. We'll talk about it. And I want to talk about some fall plans. I think that's what we'll cover today. Yes, for anyone who's new, hi. My name is Megan. I live in the Pacific Northwest, just north of Seattle. I am an East Coaster that I moved here about, oh gosh, almost a dozen years ago now. I am married. I live with my husband, Mike, and our daughter, Theo. My mom, Cindy, also lives here, and our dog, Winter, who's the best. I was actually gonna say she's in here today. She's with me. Mike is golfing. But I must have lost her on the way in here, so I'll probably go get her in a little bit, but she's just hanging out in the hallway. Yeah, so things to talk about, things to discuss, and yeah, plans, which is always fun. So definitely, it might be a shorter episode this week because I don't have a lot of projects with my needles. Like, we'll talk about that too. So let's just talk about real fast what I'm wearing. Yeah, so this is, I will put a picture up of me actually in this, and I think the picture I might have in this color, but I definitely have a picture of this when I had neon fringe. The nice thing about this top is you can totally change out the fringe. So let's talk about it. This is called the High Time top. It is a pattern by Kimberly S, who is Golden Boy Knits on Instagram. I got to meet Kimberly, actually. I'll put a picture here of me and her at Flock last 2 weekends ago. She's so lovely. She came up with a friend. She lives in Texas, I believe. And so, and she does she has a real aesthetic. All of her knits are really in yellow or golden or, verging on brown colors. But like, I mean, obviously, I am a little bit more all over the place. But so I tested this last July is when the pattern came out, and I made a size extra large. That is the final measurement of 42 inches in the bust. I actually don't have my final measurements in my project page. I'm much better about doing that now. Still don't do it all the time, but definitely more than before. This is meant to have 2 to 4 inches of negative ease. It is a bottom up knit, and the construction, this was my first bottom up knit, and I really love this t-shirt. It is a t-shirt, as you can see in the pictures. It fits, it's a little cropped. It's meant to be cropped. I think I would actually put this on today, and I don't wear this one very often, mostly because like, I think the fringe is jarring on Zoom videos because you only see like a little bit of it and people are like, what is happening on your shirt? And I'm like, yes, it's also like very, very cowgirl, which I love, but I think you can omit the fringe very easily. Obviously you can, because like in the pattern, it just tells you where to start it. Just like, don't do that, just knit. It has really nice bust shaping in it. I did add a little extra length before because it was more cropped than would have been. Like, it would have been just under my boobs, honestly, just as the pattern was written in the test. I think she increased the sizing a little bit, but like, always check out project plans for some of that stuff. The nice thing is now that I also got this great tip from Rachel Costello, like you could start this with a provisional cast on. Knit a little bit, do your bust shaping where you think you need to do it before underarms, and then like put it on and knit the rest of your bottom. This is it does have folded hems on, folded hem on the bottom, and then the rest is just I-cord. I actually think that this one sits really nice for an I-cord sleeve. Like, there's not a ton of rolling or anything. I really enjoy it. But anyway, I put it on today. It's a DK weight shirt, and I was like, man, I think I kind of want another one sans fringe. Like, I like the fit of this so much. And I might do it in like, yeah, something I have in stash. Anyway, those are way future plans. It does have set-in sleeves. Those fit really nicely, just like overall really good. I did add some sleeve length. Here's what my project says. I don't have that many details in here, but I added to 8 inches before bust starts. So I think the overall length of this is like 11 inches, which is about what I've been making my tank tops to. I added about 1 inch to each front shoulder section, just the front, before after the scoop, to give the scoop more of a scoop, because I think even on her pictures, like, it maybe sits up here a little bit more, which is cute, but I wanted a little more. And I added about 3 more inches than pattern to the sleeves, because the sleeves are pretty small on hers, like here, you know, and I feel love the length of these sleeves. Okay. Great mods. So I am, and this is made in Cascade Yarns Eco Alpaca. We've talked about this yarn before. I had this in stash. I got from a D-stash like many years ago. It's itchy as all get out. I would not use it for a shirt again. Like, maybe I would, I don't know, maybe it felt soft to knit with, but there's like guard hairs or something in here, and it is itchy. I did soften this with hair conditioner when I washed it, when I changed the fringe last time, and it helped tremendously. It's actually not been bothering me today. I've been wearing it. I mean, it's early in the day, so like, but I've worn it a couple of times since I washed it, and it's been much, much better. So, all that to say, I'd probably make this in a different yarn, but I feel like it'd be really fun in like a DK weight, like summer yarn. Yeah, just like a plain color t-shirt. I don't know. I mean, who knows? It's in the queue for in the future. Okay. We've got to talk about finished objects, because I have one. So I'm down to 3 projects on my needles because I finished something this week, which was my intention. I said this last week, to finish my Ever After sweater. And it's gorgeous, and I love it so much. And it is washed and it is blocked, and I need to take pictures later today when it's a little, like, you know, not early in the morning and nicer, because it's kind of gray right now. Gray is okay for pictures. Actually, hot tip, if anybody doesn't know this, take your pictures when it's a little overcast. Then you're not squinting in the sun, but also it creates less weird shadows on you. I will probably do that, but it's still, like, it's cold. It's also early, so I will do that like during my lunch break. Okay. But I love it so much. Here it is in all its glory. It is a boxy fit, top down, drop shoulder sweater. I mean, like, there's not a whole lot to see when you hold it up like that. I really love the neckline shaping a lot. I think it's like, the details are good here. And the only reason I'm not wearing this, like, it's actually cool enough. I probably could wear this today, but like, I'm going to save it for next week so we can talk about some of the details, and fit then. Also because that's me a little bit closer to when the pattern comes out. So I'm going to keep the hype going for you guys. But yeah, so I think like the neckline details here are really nice. Just like, this is not an uncommon way to pick up your stitches and or create your increases to like have this look. My skyline looks really similar, but yeah, I think it looks nice. Everything is 2x2 ribbing. I did do a mod. It says in the pattern to just bind off in pattern. I still prefer to do the 1x1 modification for the 2x2 ribbing to then do, which just means like you're starting with a knit part of your ribbing. You would knit one, and then it's your second and third stitches, you switch. You just do a left twist, and then you purl the 4th stitch and then knit the first, you know, so you just do that in pattern to change it. Okay. Which then just means I could do the sewn bind off everywhere. I think the sewn bind off looks especially nice on your cuffs. Like, I don't think I would have noticed the difference just binding off in pattern for my neckline, but it was a little bit, it's not close fitting, but like, I like the extra flexibility to get over your head. Also, then, I don't know, it's just a personal preference. And Claire said it was fine to do that mod, but like on your sleeves, I think that looks so nice on your cuff. Like, even though I know it can kind of look like it might be leaning a little bit, those last 2 stitches, because you're breaking them up in between, but I don't think it's that obvious. And also it just gives your cuff like a nice, like, it doesn't flare. You're not gonna have to worry, like, you'll be able to push up your arms. Like, I don't know, it's the stretch. So a couple of design features also is like, there's a purl ridge at where you do your shoulder pickup. Where this actually sits on your shoulder is like right along the back line of your shoulder, which is really nice. I'll show you that next week. I'm not going to probably also put a picture of me wearing this today in the video because I want you to see it when it's live. But yes, And then there's like a good amount. This is like 2.5 inches of ribbing on this on the hem, and like about that also on the sleeves. I did kind of deviate from pattern here because there was a little bit of like numbers snafu. I asked Claire, but then I was also doing it at nighttime, and she's generally okay with like you extending things like that as long as you make notes in your modifications. She's now cleaned up the numbers, so no worries about that. This pattern, really straightforward, like no issues with making it or anything, or in the pattern or pickups or whatever. This yarn is Back Loop Yarn Co. Oh my gosh. In the very beginning, I never told you what it's called. This is the Ever After sweater by Claire Jackson, perfectly knotted. It is a test knit due September 1st. So like we're close to that. It's mid next week. But anyway, this color is called Wild Terrain by Backloop Yarn and Fiber. It is in basic worsted, which I think she might be calling merino worsted now. Anyway, it's superwash merino, 218 yards for 100 grams. This is an old colorway from her like deep collection, like I think 2021 or 2022. But it's really nice. Like it's just like a really nice, it's nice. It's a weirdly non too warm brown and purple gray. Anyway, it looks cute on, so I'm really excited to wear this for you next week. I have some stats though I can tell you right now. I made a size, I told you about the yarn, but the size I made is a 54-inch bust. It is meant to have 6 to 10 inches of ease. That is 7 inches for me. I made this all using 5mm needles. I think I would make it again. And when we talk about the fit next week, we can talk more about it, but I think I would maybe size down. I think the next size is 48 inches. So that'd be very close to my bust. So not as much drop. Like it would change a lot of the look of it. But we can talk about that when I wear it. Anyway, excited to do that. Oh, I did do final measurements though on my Ravelry page, which I shall tell you. So the gauge of this is 18 stitches for 4 inches and 26 rows. So that's like pretty forgiving for worsted weight. My final measurement is 54 inches on the bust. The full length, like I'm pretty much dead on for gauge and for measurements. My full length though is 22 inches. I added, okay, so when I blocked this, my shoulder seam is a little bit less deep than the schematic says because I didn't really tug up at my neckline at all. I really like how it's sitting, so I'm okay with that. I could have probably blocked it like just a tiny bit more to give myself that. But then which means that my gauge was a little bit tighter flat. That's pretty normal for me. And I can't always tell, especially when you're doing that many stitches across, like, yeah, I can stop to measure, but like I was close. So I was like, this is probably fine. But then I added 2.5 inches, I think, in the body. So overall, it gave me about 1 inch and a little bit lengthwise, which is how she does her measurements. But she also does the armhole thing, but she doesn't have a measurement in the schematic from the underarm because that's so customizable. But my underarm, from underarm is 13 inches. My arm length is 16 inches, which again, this one wanted to super stretch out. So when I blocked it, I like did the wiggle thing to like, and patted it so that it stayed in closer gauge, right? Like you can do this. It's not that hard to do. And then it dries like pretty nicely. And then my wrist circumference is under what the pattern says, but I also don't typically block out my wrist ribbing because I prefer it to be a tiny bit tighter on my wrist than looser. If you blocked it out, it would just remain a little bit looser. There are things for you to know. Okay, so let's talk about projects. So I have 3 things on my needles, and I did work on all 3 of them this week. I made pretty good progress on all 3 of them, and I did not cast anything on. I said I was going to, and I do really want to, but I was kind of getting my ducks in a row for what my fall plans are. So I did more planning than actually getting some yarn wound up and cast on. And part of that is because I'm planning a bunch of these to be with my knit friends, which is so fun. And yeah, we're just in timing for different projects then to finish up for everyone. So let's talk about what is on my needles. And I do think I will cast something on this weekend. one of those friend knits, but I also like, I'm not in a big rush because I would like to get some of these things done. So I don't want to bore you with only having 3 projects on the needles, but I'll move these things pretty quickly. I just would like, yeah, the week goes by quickly, y'all. So, and some of these, I feel like I'm in right in the middle of all of them. Okay, so this is my only bottom up knit right now, which is the Daydreamer by Andrew Mowry. This is a gift knit for my sister-in-law. Yes, this is a crazy thing to gift knit. Everybody is correct. If you thought of that before I started the pattern, you were correct. And it feels that way. I am 2/3 of the way through the body. So, and I did a whole third this week, and this has been on my needle since like the beginning of June. So, and I just have put it down for long chunks of time, which is not great because I do have a little, you can kind of see it right here on the video, I have a tiny tensioning issue right here of like 1 or 2 rows that are just looser than the rest of the pattern. I don't care. It'll block out. Not really worried about it. If I have to go in and like pull to do a little sweater surgery, I will do that. I'm not going to re-knit because I noticed it like 10 rows in, and these rows take forever. So I am gonna do my level best to get the body done this week. I don't think the rest of it will feel as arduous. Really, like, this is the hardest part. This is pretty small. It's on small needles right now, but this is a 40-inch around. So let's go through some details. This is a pattern by Andrew Mowry, who is Dre Renee Knits. It is size 1, which is a 40-inch bust. It is a large ease project, so it's recommended to have 6 to 12 inches. I am making this on 3.25 millimeter needles for the ribbing and 3.5 millimeter needles for the body. I'm pretty on for gauge, though. Yes, I'm not using the right body needle. I should be using 3.75, and I just put the wrong needles on. There's no reason. I just read the pattern wrong, probably late at night, and that's what it is. It's fine. I am really on for gauge though, so I must cable a little bit loose, and which is fine. I am using Knit Picks Aloft and Palette, both in the color Pennyroyal. Aloft is their mohair, which is 72% mohair, 28% silk, 260 yards for 25 grams. And their palette is 100% Peruvian Highland wool, and it's 231 yards for 50 grams. So it's a light fingering. It feels like a light fingering. Together they feel like nice and squishy. This is like a really nice kind of DK weight. Like, I would say, you know, would fit a lot of like the Nordland type patterns, the, you know, combinations that use this, the mohair and fingering. I think the color is gorgeous. The fluff is really nice on it. Like, the halo is just super pretty. But like, having the tonal same colors is actually like a really nice effect. I don't have any knits that are like this. This is something I'd be interested in doing in the future because like, it's nice. It's a good effect. So, but I love to play with colors too. And I feel like it's painting with colors when you get to like add Surrey into the mix. Yes, so I am not super progressed, but I do think I will finish the body. I don't know that I'd get any further because I'm telling you, doing a chart, like, I did most of that in one night, but like, whew, felt like the longest night ever. Okay. Second project is my Kip Sweater, which is a test knit. So this is the only test on my needles now. This is a test knit for Rebecca Clow, who is the Crayabea. It is a all over texture knit. It is top down in a herringbone type knit. So you're using slip stitches to make like a sideways herringbone pattern. I'm making a size 4. It's 48.5 inches bust. The recommended ease is 3 1/4 to 8 inches. I'm doing this with slightly less ease. I am using 5.5 millimeter needles for the body, which is larger than recommended. I'll tell you what I did for the ribbing, and we might have to make some changes. Okay, I am using Durham Natura Ulysse in the color Confiture de Rose. This is yarn I purchased for this pattern, even though no, I was not going to buy yarn for tests. I already did it for the Haley sweater, but that was an exception because that's my Christmas sweater, and I firmly needed that red sweater. This one, I did not need to buy yarn necessarily, but I did try to make gauge with this, and I was like a little under, and then also the way that fabric was working up, the heathering in it was almost too much, that I felt like I was losing the pattern, and it was like not quite plump enough, so it didn't give the same effect. So I just went with what she was using. I could have used a true DK for it and gotten closer, but I didn't have anything in stash that I didn't already have earmarked with enough yarn that I wanted to use. So I bought something. And this is 100% merino woolen spun yarn at 202 yards for 100 grams. It is a very deceptive yarn. It is a sport DK. When you wash it, it really can fill out to be a DK weight gauge because of the way it blooms. But you can also use it in sport and fingering weight patterns like to a good effect, though it may be like a fluffier end product. Okay. I got to work on this week. So last week, this is also super lame, and I apologize. I do have my progress keepers down here, or I think I just moved them upstairs, and I just totally forgot to put like a pretty progress keeper on, even though, yes, I just bought more, so I have thousands of them, which is fine on all the pieces, but I do have a place in the front. So I was here, which was just after joining Body. Yeah, like very shortly after joining Body. Half a repeat or something, half a pattern repeat. I just knit until I finished a ball of yarn. That's what I did in the body. And then I was like, I'm gonna go to sleeves and see where that gets me. So the next ball of yarn, I actually did the collar first. This is what I have to talk about. This actually sits super nicely on me, but I went down the recommended number of needle sizes, which put me to 4mm needles. So she wrote the pattern to, her gauge was at 5mm needles, and Rebecca's a loose knitter, so in which she like mentions when she had on her podcast, but she also sometimes on Instagram and in our pattern tester notes. So I went up a needle size, and I also then at the Latvian braid went down an extra needle size. Like, so I went up to a 5.5 for the main body. So I also was like 3.75 is what she put for ribbing. So I was like, okay, I'll do a 4. And I like the effect. I think it's really pretty. It sits really nicely, but I'm wondering if it's still like a little too wide. I could go back and use a 3.75, keep my, like, basically go back to the Latvian braid, and which would be, it's structurally sound enough. I could do that. I don't want to because it's a folded, I sewed it in, I folded it like that. It's very possible to do, but pain in my butt. And I like the way it sits. It's actually nice because I think hers sits a little closer, and because mine is just like a little more room, it sits like I can give myself like a little bit more like of a this. Does this look like anything to you? It's not a scoop, but like it won't be here. It'll just be down a little bit. So I think I'm gonna like that better. Also, because there is no bust shaping, which you could do. You certainly can decrease your pattern, but would create some odd things happening on your side. Like I think it would be noticeable more than in your sleeves, because you're definitely decreasing pattern in your sleeves, but you're doing it at a faster rate, so that pattern matches back up more quickly. Anyway, all this to say, I don't want to, so I probably won't. So I picked up sleeves, and I am, this side has needles. I am at like, I think 14 inches on this sleeve, and I have very little of this ball of yarn left, but I started making mistakes. Like I had 2 rows I had to rip back out, and I was like, okay, time for bed last night. And not even like, just was not following pattern. So I am this far on the other sleeve. So I did the collar. What was left of that fresh ball of yarn, I did a sleeve. When I ran out of yarn, I just went to the second sleeve because I knew I would need to try it on before deciding where sleeve lengths really end. Part of that is also because this is written with a recommendation for sleeve length, but you might end mid pattern. So it's like really making the decision of, do I want to add a little length or take a little bit away and make my cuff longer? Both of which are acceptable for our test, so I can put those notes in Ravelry. Second of all is there were only 4 written decreases in my sleeve. I think she is going to adjust this in pattern, but she has not done it yet. She has given us leeway, everyone, to decrease more in sleeves, and I think maybe she's going to use that as a gauge for what to decrease to. Part of my decision for that was, I don't mind a balloon sleeve. That would be fine. But I don't want the cuff to be a balloon sleeve in this pattern, so I thought decreasing more evenly would be better. I've already put in about 11 or 12 decreases, and I think I'll be at, I mean, like I'm fully doing way more than the pattern suggested. Part of this is also because her cuffs in, like, if you look at her reel of this, it is not anywhere near as baggy as it would be, like what she's done, as it would be if I did, like, it would have been 80 sleeve stitches, which I only picked up like 126 in my neckline. So that would be like this big of a sleeve. Like, it would be enormous for me. Like, it's literally 2/3 of my neckline or something like that. Like, I was like, no, 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 I can't do that. That would drive me nuts. So and a couple other people had asked before. She put in the Google Doc that it was fine to increase or add in decreases. So I'm gonna try to get this down, like, you know, it's like a fully 20 more stitches almost, something like that. So yes, that's what I'm doing, and that's fine. I have tried it on with this amount of decreases on both sides, and it was like maybe when the sleeves were more even, which I'm just past on this one now, something like this. Do you like how many like little stitch markers I use? I'm not only using them on the bottom, but just to keep track of the pattern repeats on the top, so I'm not like losing my mind while I'm doing this, because there's something about going back and forth. Yeah, anyway, because I want to keep them really even. So, and this is a little harder to read because you're doing every 3/4 inches or so to add your decreases, but like the pattern is not, you know, between two is not consistent, and because you're using decreases, the pattern's not staying even in number of stitches, like where like the row starts, because I'm taking stitches out. So I will say that this has seemed like a harder knit to me more recently than other things. Partly that's because there's a lot of read your pattern in the instructions, and Rebecca sort of does this. Like, I think she definitely writes more of a European style pattern than some others. I think for some of her patterns, like the Tolsta, that's so basic, and she gives enough explanation that like absolutely a beginner could do this. Like, this is not a beginner pattern. This is an intermediate level. It's not even an adventurous beginner, because there's enough of this that you have to understand construction. You have to understand sort of what you're doing, and be able to like not even read between the lines, but like read your knitting as you're going to make sure that you're staying on with like the pattern, how it's changing between the things that you're doing. Do a lot of this and at the same time kind of knitting. And I think her instructions are like slightly less explicit than someone like Amy Scher, who does patterns where you have to do two things at once, and she writes in the how do you do at the same time, but like with a lot of explanation. And Rebecca doesn't do that. It's not that it's hard to knit necessarily, it's just that you have to really understand how to make a sweater already and how to read your knitting before you're going to be successful at something like this. So all that to say, I am doing my sleeves still. I need to get to like almost 16 inches of sleeve or something before I do the cuff. So again, I'm going to get close to that, try it on at the end of a pattern repeat that's closest, either under or over, and then decide if I want it to be like that, and how much cuff then I want to add. I think she's very flexible also on us like adding a little more or less cuff to make up the difference if it's like the pattern repeat is going to bother us to end in the middle. I still haven't decided if I care, but whatever I decide for the sleeves is what I'll do for the body so that they match. Overall, I'm so pleased with this color. I really like working with this yarn. What I will say is like trying it on, I was like, okay, I know this is going to soften a ton while I wash it, but it does have a very woolly feel, though it's so different of a woolly feel than my Haley sweater, which is my BFL yarn that I use from Cascade, which is definitely not as soft as this. But that felt really woolly. That has like similar explanation for this, but like, again, it's not as itchy as this was when I first made it. So like, yeah, it's a really interesting, just using 100% wool thing. I can't wait to see this bloom. I also just love seeing it now in pattern, like on camera, you can really see how it shows up, and like, it's just gorgeous. I'm so excited. Okay, so let's talk about the last thing on my needles, and then we can talk about books, and then we can talk about fall plans. So this is my Moon Set Tee. I've gotten pretty far this week. I wanted to get slightly further, and I will by this weekend, because I do have pretty stitch markers on this one. I went and found my flock, my new flock. There's the little sheepy from Flock this year. So I had last episode finished the back and just picked up my front left panel. And then I used my other Flock marker, and that's just at the seam of the right side, which it says Flock Fiber Festival 2024. That is on my right side. And so I did all the way down. I did connect them. And I've done about 13 or 14 rows since, and I need to do another like 12 or 13 rows, and then I'll connect the body. So like I'm pretty close. All things said, you know, I can definitely, I could have finished this last night and got them joined in the round, but I decided to prioritize my Kip sleeve because I felt the mojo for that. You got to follow your dreams, okay? Your wishes, your inclinations, your knitting magic. You just need to follow it sometimes. So this is the Moonset Tee by Haley Smedley, who is Ozetta. It is a top-down, slightly drop shoulder V-neck t-shirt. There are, you know, multiple versions of this for sure. There's a DK weight sweater, which I think she does with like mohair or cashmere. She knits in cashmere all the time, which like, if you're getting sponsored for it, I get it. But like, man, I cannot make all my sweaters in cashmere, unfortunately. I am making the size 2XL, which is 50-inch bust. The recommended ease for this is 4 inches of positive ease. So that's close to me, 3 inches. And I did want like a little ease. I think the next size down, let me see what it says, is actually a size 46.5 inch. So like that would have been negative ease. It probably would have been okay, but I made a sample of this in a large last year for Maggie from Yarnaceous. And I tried it on because that's like, you know, that's a little bit of negative ease. And it was just like, it just like the shoulder, the drop, like everything felt a little too small. So I figured going up the full 2 sizes would be good. I am going to do, I think, the I-cord. You know, I'm like really debating. I was thinking about this last night. I don't mind it here, the I-cord sleeve. The thing I don't know that I love is the I-cord hem, because I think that tends to really flip up more. One of the things I was thinking about doing is using my Wool and Pine Scotch Broom wrap technique, obviously not for the wrap piece, but to do a bind off with a with a horizontal ribbing. So I don't know how to do this exactly, because like, do I start it and leave like 2 to 4 rows and then just sew those on? Probably is the easiest way to do that. It would be hard to like start ribbing, like literally 1 row and then attach it to the bottom and knit off that way, but I probably could. Anyway, all that to say, like that seems like a little bit extra work, but I didn't actually find that an unenjoyable process for the cast off of the body of the Scotch Broom, and that's a lot longer. And it would give like this V-neck detail. It would give that at the bottom. And I think that would be a nice match. I don't think I would do it for the sleeves though still, because I don't think that would be necessary. Like I think that would look kind of chunky. But then it's like, do I want that to match? I'm going to have something not matching, right? But I feel like there's something about having 2 sleeves do their own thing, and then your top and bottom be the match is okay. Like that's kind of normal. But then something like this, like only the bottom is one thing and the neck and sleeves are the same. So I could also do the neck be one thing and the sleeves. I mean, obviously it looks fine. Lots of people have made a Moonset tee and they look great with an I-cord cast off. I just don't know if that would bug me a ton. I'm going to think about it. I've got a lot of body to go, and I also have a yarn determination here because I have 3 skeins for this, which I think will be 100% get me there, but I am working now on all 3 skeins. So here's what I did. Yes, over the week, I finished knitting my first ball of yarn, which is like I already sewed the edges in. I already sewed it in. Good go me. Here. I joined a second ball of yarn at knit night and I just knit with that. I actually don't think you can really tell, but I was getting a slightly light patch And I think it was more just like the variegation of where the orange was laying here that I got nervous, and I just decided to like start helically knitting before the join. And so I'll just helically knit the body. That'll just like make me feel better about it anyway. What I will probably do this week is, okay, so we are going to Stitch and Pitch. By we, I mean it's just me and Emily and our husbands, which is going to watch the Mariners game with knitting. They have special tickets for this, like a section of knitters. It's purely just for fun. Emily's a big baseball fan. If you, this is Emily Curtis from Gently Chaotic Knits. Also, you know, has a podcast. If you don't watch it, she is super fun, and much like Ariel and I, is a little less formal of a podcaster. We just chat with you and have a great time, unscripted. But she is what worked for the Mariners for a period of time and is a big baseball fan. And Mike is a big baseball fan, and I haven't been to a Mariners game in a while, so we decided we would go. We're gonna have a date day for it. So yes, I want to take this as my project because it'll be miles of stockinette once I get there. So I just have to do those 14 rows, join it in the ground. I do have to do that before I go to the Mariners game because there's a lot of switching of needles and other things. I don't want to be bothered with that there. As soon as I do that too, I'll take off all my markers. It's just a thing that makes, it's my security blanket. Okay. But what I did do this weekend or this week too, is I sewed down this on like Wednesday. That was yesterday. No, on Tuesday night. Because I just didn't want to have it. Okay. I just like I didn't want it to be flopping around. So like I said before, and I didn't show this to you, so sorry for doing that early, but after you do one side, you pick up and you knit opposite ways, but you can see the seam a little bit, right? Like it's not a perfect provisional knitting. It's not perfect, especially in ribbing. I think it's more noticeable than it is in knitting because stitches just sit opposite, you know, a half stitch over, but you do a certain amount of rows per pattern, and then you break your yarn and you pick up and you start doing the same thing that you did the other side. So I sewed in all my ends, you guys, like I was really on a roll. I sewed in all my extra ends, and by the way, that was on this side really. Sewed in all my extra ends, picked up, did all the things, got here we are. What you can't see, and I posted a picture, actually, I'll see, it's not even really worth it. I was going to say, I'll put the picture here, but I put a picture in my stories of this yarn color. And like, even inside my room, it just doesn't do it justice. So even if I hold it in front of the camera, you cannot see. These pinks and purples are so much pink and purplier in person. The orange is nicer. It's like, there's yellow and orange. Like the depth of this color is amazing when you're in person. So I can't wait to wear it. It is Explore Knits and Fibers, earthy sock in the colorway Sangria. I don't have my band with me here, but it's 100% non-superwash merino, and it's like 436, 463. I don't know. It's a pretty light fingering. Maybe it's the 460, 400 grams. I really enjoy this base like a lot. I think it's really nice to work with. It felts. So you can even see just at the tip of some of the yarn I used to sew in ends here. There's one for sure. Like you can see just across this, just using this is the one I used to sew across the back. Having this go in and out a few times, like it's already felting. This is something that if you accidentally wash this, you would felt the crap out of it, like absolutely in 5 seconds. I'm going to be really careful when I wash and block this too. Usually you're okay as long as you do this on lukewarm. You don't want to shock it with super cold. You don't want to shock it with hot. But if you put it in like lukewarm, slightly cool water to wash and don't agitate, fine. This also means like, I think this is crazy and I don't do it, and not because it doesn't clearly work for some people, but like a lot of people will wash and then throw in the spin cycle like lightly for 10 minutes or whatever to get the water out in their washer. I am still in the camp of squeeze out water, but do it gently. And I do this pretty thoroughly, but like still gently. Throw it on the floor, roll it up with a towel, step on it, but do not agitate, as in like don't move it against itself, right? That's what's going to felt it. So I really don't think you could even do this spin cycle, because if it was wet and it started hitting against itself, it will felt. And yes, so Anywho, I can't wait to just wear this, and like this color is just amazing. Okay, that's all I have to say about, I feel like that was still a ton of rambling, but that's my projects. Let's talk about books. Okay, so this week I read Two Twisted Crowns, which is the second in the duology, The Shepherd King by Rachel Gillig. This one was getting like a ton of traction on Book Talk and BookTube, and I have to say, I was not convinced after the first one, and I still would not rank it as like one of my favorite books read this year. I thought it was fine. The magic definitely becomes a little bit more clear and fleshed out in the second book. I was like, there were just parts of it, like, it just wasn't enough. I thought there was a lot of potential with it, and I didn't hate it. But I think there are a lot of people who were like raving about the writing style, and I thought it was fine. Part of that could be because I did it audio, and the narrator was okay. Not my favorite again, but that was probably not it. Like, I just felt like the pacing was inconsistent. There was something about the magic system that felt like really loosey-goosey in the first one, or just like mentioned, but like obviously it's a big part of it. It's a cool concept that instead of having magic roam free, there are these cards, but you don't get into the second one until like why and how these cards were made, really. And the limitations of them is sort of explained in the first one, but like there's also wild magic, but that's not really explained enough, I think, until the second one. And still, I think that like it's a complex enough system that she created that it should have just been fleshed out more in the first one. There's something about like you want readers to want more, but you also want them to not be confused. I don't really feel confused. I just felt like unsatisfied. So, and the cliffhanger of the first one was good, and the resolution of the second one was pretty good also. Overall, it was okay. That's all I'm going to say. Like, I mean, and no, like if this was your favorite book of the year, then cool, great. Different tastes, different folks, different strokes. That's okay. The second book I read this week was called Mixed Signals by B.K. Borison, which is the third of the Lovelight Farms. If you remember, this was one of the Christmas books I read last year, is Lovelight Farms, the first one. And that is about a person who owns a Christmas tree farm. This is also about this third person who lives and works on the Christmas tree farm, but she runs the bakehouse. And it's so cute. It's so cute. So it is about Caleb is the love interest, and the female main character's name is Layla. And this one you could see coming from a mile away, because Caleb was like very clearly into her in the first books. But we didn't get a lot from Layla in the first books. Anyway, but they live in a really small town. She mostly like just didn't want to date someone from town, which is a reasonable thing. But she also didn't grow up there. So I also find that's like, I get it, right? She just didn't want to she's basically had a very bad luck in her love life, and she didn't want a weird, a person that it went badly with to be living in town and everyone to talk about it. But Caleb lives in town anyway. They start as a dating experiment because he feels like he needs help dating, and and he also feels, this is both from him, he feels like she needs to be like treated correctly on dates, like be treated well for her to know what that's like, even though like in the whole background, like he just was into her. And she didn't realize he existed, which is like so sad for him. But like then it works out. It's very lovely. The story is very cute. Overall, like just heartwarming. Okay? It's a heartwarming read. The third book I read this week was also a continuation of a series, and this is Flamefall, which is the second of the Aurelian cycle by Rosaria Munda. I really enjoy these books. They're a little frustrating because the main characters are 17 and 18. They are little itty bitty babies. I know I said this like a few weeks ago, but like, can we please have some more really good, romantasy, but like heavy on the good fantasy parts for people who are just like 29, 30, 35. 35 would be great. Like, what if they had some life experience before they go making decisions for an entire kingdom? Okay, that's unfair for this group too, because like they had a lot of trauma, but also they just had a lot of trauma. So there's a lot of trauma response happening in like the way they deal with some of this stuff. Lack of communication. I mean, just like very basic things that you're like, oh, right, you're 17. So like if you saw this, you would jump to conclusions, you would get upset, you would definitely not have a conversation about it. That's what happens, and that's what gets them in hot water a couple of times. I actually think there's like good character growth happening though in these main characters and some of the side characters, like a lot of the side characters. There's a good twist at the end of this one that I did not see coming, because it's a little bit, I can't wait to get the story, but like seems implausible, but like let's hear it. There is a lot of like, yeah, I mean it's a lot. It's heartbreaking, the decisions that are being made and that they have to make, and like really stuck between a rock and a hard place for a lot of things. There's like, some of this just does not feel like there's a good answer to me as a grown human. So I feel really nervous for the third one. I think it is just a trilogy though. Maybe there's more books, but I'm gonna read the next one for sure. I thought it was like pretty good. This one anyway is about a kingdom that has dragons, and they threw over like the normal people also saying this. The wealthy elites who are not the ruling class overthrew, with the help of the regular people, the ruling class that were dragon overlords. Well, then they had these dragons and they wanted to have the dragons, I guess they like hatched anew. I'm not really sure. It seems like the old dragons died. There was a new batch of dragons, and they matched them with regular people that they tested into being capable of dragon riding. Yeah, I mean, and then essentially you're seeing that the revolution was maybe not so revolutionary, and this younger generation is like, do we second revolution? Like, it's a little crazy. I really liked it though. So on to the next one. It's definitely more YA, less romance, little bit of romance, but like just more of the like kind of circling around each other, like maybe sometimes kissing kind of thing. So just so you know. Okay, let's talk about acquisitions. I did this sort of out of order, but that's how I'm going to keep the episode, so it's fine. I actually forgot to talk about this 2 episodes ago, and then it's just been sitting here, and I didn't want to talk about my flock episode because I had so much other stuff going on there. But I got this from the D-Stash Discord, actually from Rachel is Knitting from the D-Stash Discord. I have bought from her before. That was like actually how we first started messaging each other, but this is Treehouse Knits Dove DK. The colorway is the River Anduin, which is one of my favorite colors from Lauren. I have a skein of this in 2 skeins of this in Sierra Sport because I will use that for my tessellated vest later this fall. I'm really excited actually. Getting this in the mail made me more excited to make that other thing, not the thing I'm going to make with this, but this is going to be, Dove DK is 100% superwash merino. It's 246 yards for 100 grams. It is touted as like one of the softest DKs out there, and it is incredibly soft. Like, it's incredibly soft. I am going to use this. I got this intentionally. I actually got 2 skeins and a partial skein, and this is going to be the main color for a sea glass sweater for me. I'm not going to knit that right now because Katie and Sylvan have been plotting, started plotting this past knit night to maybe give me some accompanying colors from minis minis or partial skeins that they'd like to de-stash. I will also pull from stuff I have, but I'm going to put together like a mix of fingering weight, whole double, DK scraps, maybe even some worsted scraps to make a jewel tone heavy sea glass sweater, not the cardigan. I don't know if I said that. Sweater, cardigan. Anyway, sweater. So I got that. And then she also gave me this sock mini from HHF, some hedgehog fibers. It's 90% merino wool, 10% nylon. It's also a 4-ply. So yes, I'm going to also use this as one of the colors. It's slightly different. Maybe I will use it as one of the colors. Anyway, it's a good mini. It's pretty close to color, so like maybe not, but that'll also help if I need a little extra yardage. That I do have one other color that's pretty similar for yardage. If I have any of the Sierra Sport left over, I can also use that because this is a very gauge forgiving thing, especially if I use that like in the middle, but still use the DK for like cuffs and hems. That's what the main color is going to be. But I'm also thinking I might use it every other row throughout. Maybe every 3rd row. Like who knows? I'm going to have to do a couple swatches to see. Yeah, not my favorite thing, you know. My second acquisition this week is something that I just bought, and I bought last week, and I got here super fast, and it is a lot of fiber. So you'll hear me talk about more fiber later in the podcast, but plans. But I got this absolutely gorgeous bag. It's a 1 pound patchwork yarn kit bag from Hello Yarn. This is my first Hello Yarn order. This was number 1018. She just put these together out of like extras, you know, and I'm sure this happens with every dyer, like just extras, testers, things that like you made an extra for something and then it didn't go, or like there was an issue in consistency, whatever. So she put together these gorgeous bags of fiber, and they're pretty long strands each. Like, let me open this just to show you. Okay, like these are little bumps, but like this is a good amount of fiber. Like these are not small, like, I'll unwind one. Here we go. Like, that's a pretty decent size. Like, this is obviously not like 4 ounces, but it's probably 2. So I am going to have a lot of fun playing with this. Put that to the side because it's noisy. Totally influenced by my knitting group, who are the best people ever, but also totally enablers. I was like, so Maya and Emily posted something, and I was like, ooh, that's so tempting, but I don't know. But like, this one's pretty. They also all sent me like the same. I like said in the chat, oh, that sounds tempting or something. And then they sent me the same ones I was looking at of like my colors, or like, this is Megan's colors. I went back on, and actually the one they sent me was gone. And I was like, oh no, then I can't buy it. It'll be fine. And she had just added more, and another one that was like nearly identical. This one actually has a red bump. That was the only thing that was missing from the other one. And so I bought it. It was really affordable. And the potluck things are really fun because you can either use them like as get yourself some mini skeins and use those for color work, which is one of the ideas Maya threw out there. But you could also, like, I have a really good blend that would look really nice together, and I can choose, because of the way that they're in chunks, really deliberate yarn distribution for a color work, changing color work, like a much longer kind of color work change, like spin cycle-y look. Or I could just like use some blending and do like some, like just pull off little tiny chunks and do something totally crazy. I've not decided. This will likely sit for a little bit of time. I have another 1 pound bag that is like all the colors of the rainbow. So I might also pull some of that out and put in here. That would be things that more match with this aesthetic. So I could get a whole sweater spin out of something crazy and fun like this. Maybe not a sweater spin, but maybe a t-shirt. You just never know. We'll see. And also, this is all just like, it's wool tops. So there's not specific wool blends. They all look very equally fuzzy and fun, but that is also really fun too. So I could just like have some different textures going on. Okay, that's all for that acquisition and acquisitions in general this week. Loosely, some fall knitting plans. So I'm not going to give you like everything I'm planning to knit, but I will throw out a couple of things that are still on my list. So reevaluating my make 12. I think I'm only making one change, which I'm going to post up here, and I'll cross out the things I've already done or started, which is my moon says, the only thing that's started right now. I have like 7 things left. Is that true? Yeah, I think 7. So I've made 5. I mean, that's pretty good. Or making 5. So I've got the stripes, my birch pullover, the Dorney sweater, salty air tee, tessellated vest. The thing I'm switching out is my Haley vest for a louder vest. There's a couple of reasons I'm doing this, but the very first and main reason is because I the knitting group may potentially early next year want to do a book club cardigan, which uses that same diamond cable motif. I do not want to have a vest, sweater, and cardigan, and like really my only all over cable things be the same with that diamond pattern. Yes, I will potentially make more of them in the future, like the meal is on my list and some other things, but like if I'm talking about it right now, then I would prefer to have something a little bit different. And I want what I think I really do want is I want a v-neck pattern still, and the louder does that for me. So that's the one change. And then the bibliophile. I don't have set dates for these, but we are talking about knitting some of these in tandem together. So I do have sort of a list of like when I might start them, like in order. A couple other things I'm still, oh, and my heirloom quilt cardigan. Oh, so there's 8. Okay, well, that one I am going to start this weekend. So that's one of the things I'm going to cast on this weekend because I planned to do this slowly. I don't think I'll finish this one this year, but I would like a majority of it to be done this year. So I'll show you the squares as I get through them. But my plan is to just dip my toes in there and restart my squares and do 2 of them or more this week, but 2 is my goal. Again, because I already have yarn, like it's all caked and everything. That's like the easiest thing for me to just grab and start this week. Also, I can do a bite size of that. Then the other thing I think I might start this week is my Saltier tee, because I would like one more t-shirt to be done this year. And also, yes, I still am going to make t-shirts throughout the year. That is something I'm going to kind of keep intentionally in the back of my mind for the rest of the year. So in talking about that, a couple other things that have jumped up on my list to make are another dopio, which I think I talked about. Like, I think I'm gonna maybe start that around Thanksgiving because I want it to be like another birthday knit for myself. And I don't need to give myself a lot of time for that because that one goes super fast. It will also help with my stash numbers. So this is all good things. I will still be casting on as soon as I'm done my Daydreamer, So I am going to start caking yarn pretty soon. The field day cardigan for my mom. And I mean, I can start with 2 or 3 skeins. Like, I don't need all of them done, but it's going to be a big sweater. I think she's going to need like a size 7. She's not a whole lot bigger than me. She just got like a little bit wider of a rib cage and chest. But she also does not want it to be really fitted. I'm gonna do some measurements and stuff. But I got some Outlander yarn from her. It'll be an orange knit, which is not my thing, but it's so great for the fall. And I would like to get it done by or around her birthday, which is she's the day before Halloween. There's still a couple of t-shirts I'd like to make too. So I'd like to make the Karina by Sari Nordlund. It is an all over cable work t-shirt in DK. I have some stash. So I did this week because I am so inclined to knit with things I just bought. And I just bought a lot of pretty things. So like, yes, I would love to cast on my Daft Days cardigan and a bunch of other things. But I have got to be digging through some, because I'm only going to keep adding, right? So I need to dig through some of the things in my stash to start knitting with. So I went through my flat lay picture and I just picked a couple things. I was like, oh, that kind of stands out to me. That's exciting. So this Karina top is one of those. I've got some yarn potentially for a Bliss top, which is a tank top by Alicia Plummer that she released last week for free in like tandem or like in work with Autumn Goodman, who is Size Inclusive Collective, to be like, hey, here's a size inclusive tank top pattern for free. So like all kinds of inclusivity for that. I love that about it. It is definitely something I think you could do with regular sport weight yarn, but I'm thinking I might want to try to get gauge with this, which is a fingering weight Surrey. So it's a 437 for 100 grams. I think the coverage, etc., would like totally let me do that. Hers is also fluffy. This is why I thought of this. A fluffy tank top, a little bit ridiculous. Yes, but also here, not so ridiculous. So I don't know. I'm going to see if I can get gauge. Otherwise, I have some other sport weight options that I could use that like I could blend to 2 yarns like I have single skeins of. So maybe that too. Who knows? I'd like to get an Elton on the needles. I have some options for that for sure. One of the things we just picked out our next big group knit, which is us plus my Seattle knitting group, Pacific Knit West, plus our Bay Area friends. And we are going to knit a traveler hoodie, which is so nice. I'm actually really excited. That was on my list anyway, because Andrea Mowry and La Merceria are doing like a traveler full year knit along. I still might do the cowl with some handspun I have here. That's merino. It's just like gray and pretty, but I have enough yardage, I think, to do that with the 2 skeins I have. But anyway, I'm going to use for my traveler hoodie this yarn. That's very fun. Okay. Okay, and then I have 3 things that I'm still sort of finding projects for. And that's the yarn that I got excited for. So one of them is actually all of this wildflower Surrey or silky merino that is from Manos de Uruguay, which I got a long time ago. A, it takes up a lot of room on my shelf, and B, it's a fun yarn. It's not exactly my colors, but like I still think it would be a really fun thing to knit because it's gonna do some sort of like micro striping crazy kind of look. I don't even know what it's gonna do, and that's like kind of why I got it. Like I was like, this is gonna be like really fun. Because it is silky merino, and that mix is 70% merino, 30% silk, but it's a single ply. I am worried about pilling for a garment, so I might hold this with Surrey or mohair. And I know that'll change the effect and look of like the watercolory, what's happening with this yarn, but I think I would feel better about it. So, and I don't really want to swatch, to be really frank. So I might just like look what I have in stash, or like just grab something from La Mercerie. And that is like also a really light DK. I think it's really, I think it would plump up to be a DK, but could be knit as a sport weight. So if I do a mohair instead of a Surrey, I could get away with for sure doing this as a DK weight sweater. And that gives me a lot of options then. Like I could do a Duomo, Dear Duomo, I could do a lot of other things. Like there are so many patterns that are that combo. So, and one of the ideas I had of that is actually a field day cardigan, but I don't know. I wear cardigans kind of a lot. So I'm like, okay, I'm nervous about also the pilling, the wearing, but maybe it'll be fine. Okay. So that's one of the yarns I got excited about. Another one is I have all this, you can't see it, but you saw it in my flat lay before. I have all this like bulky yarn. I have a lot of super bulky yarn, which I might just like whip together some hats this year to get, just because they're easy and they're a great palette cleanser in the fall. And to be honest, like I've given a lot of hats to my friends and family, but I haven't done it in a couple of years because I felt like I really inundated them. So I might go through and just like pleasure knit a couple of like fun patterns I love out of my queue. Maybe some new ones too. But I have like a bunch of Wanted 527 Jenny Noto patterns that are like all Harry Potter inspired names and stuff. But she has some really fun textured patterns, which would be good. Anyway, all that to say, maybe I'll use some of that, but I have bulky, just the wool, a lot of it in like sweater quantities. And there are some really nice bulky patterns that I might actually just go for. And I'm not generally like that doesn't call to me very much these days. Like I'm more likely to not wear that. But I might do like a holiday theme thing or something to just like get some of it out. Maybe I'll make matching things for me and baby. Maybe I'll do something that's like, I have wine color, like a foresty green and white, which like could be a really fun kind of ridiculous Christmassy thing for the two of us. So maybe. Also have a nice light pink in there, so I could also get really early done Valentine sweaters, which is more what I was inclined to do with these, but I don't know now that I'm thinking about it. Like Christmas trees would also be so cute. Okay, something. And then I am going to do something in Nudidin. I am going to do it this year because I don't want it to just sit here forever and ever. And I got this last fall, I think. And there are a couple of patterns I have been eyeing. So I just need to like get my like ducks in order for like which exactly, because I have 3 colors. I have a green, a white, and a pink. And if I want to hold them with a mohair, or if I want to just hold them double, and just to get some stuff out of my stash for that, which I'm more inclined to see how it behaves if I just hold it double. That's like how I'm thinking, but I just have to look at yardage for everything. So that's all. That's my plans. It's a lot, but I say what I did this week to get some of these plans together is I went through like, we're not ready for Q3 stats yet by any means, right? We're just like halfway through the quarter. But I went through my project tracker and I just like looked at some stats of like, how much yarn have I knit so far this year, and I'm fully caught up on projects, so I'll just tell you this, even though it's not the end of the quarter. Like, so far I have used 43,000 yards. So yes, I don't have quite that much left of the year, but I'm like, okay, could I get 25 more thousand yards done? That's a lot. That's a lot of these projects. Looking at like approximately what all of those projects are, and like certain things like the doppio doesn't count because really it's just like one of those strands of yarn, to figure out like how much time it would take me to knit, right? Although this also does account for some double stranding, right? So I just have to be kind of cognizant of what that means. And I wanted to see how far I was from stash negative. Listen, even if I knit 25,000 yards of yarn right now, and I bought no extra yarn, I still have yarn I'm waiting for. I got some extra yarn from Peruvian Roses yarn that's available. Don't ask me, okay? I did it anyway. It's all fingering weight, so just like adding so many more yards. I still am waiting for yarn from Treehouse Knits, Gilmore Girls collection. They're a little bit behind on shipping because some injuries and other things, which I've all the grace for because clearly I don't need it this very moment. Though one of the things that's coming in, I may get the urge and just cast it on right away because I may not be able to help myself. That's okay. I can do that. I have also a couple of Advent things coming in. I did not do an Advent for myself at all last year. I am doing one traditional yarn Advent this year, and another thing. So yeah. Oh, the other thing on my fall plans to only add more time and things is I still need to keep spinning. Okay, yes, and I want to remind you and just talk about this because I'm excited right now about the podcaster collection. So this is part of my fall plans. I am going to definitely get this spinning by Labor Day weekend for sure, which is why I was talking about doing that other spin. I am going to shoot for a 2-ply sport weight that's still fluffy because I would like to make a DRK everyday sweater with my spin. It's my first sweater spin. It's my color. This is also the most precious fiber I'll ever have because it literally is called A Naughty Mess. Yes, it is. It has my name on it. I am like, it makes me like, I can't even tell you. I'm so excited. This is by YarnJam. Trisha, who runs YarnJam, is actually the best. Collaborating with her was so fun. She didn't just get to this color. She did give me a really great number. I was so hard to decide what I really wanted in it. And I mostly did, I know I said this before, I wanted to keep this really, truly cool toned. Everybody else's has some mix of warmth in it. That is fine. They are actually all warm tone people, and I am the one. So for any of you cool tone people out there, I wanted you to have the option for this. Okay, that's why. And also for me. So I need to get this started. As a reminder, this is 100% natural Shanico. She has on both the website and I think on the labels, now she's might have updated them, but they say like Shanico / Merino Rambouillet maybe on the new labels, but this one just says Merino Rambouillet, meaning not a mix of merino sheep and Rambouillet sheep, but a sheep that is a Merino Rambouillet mix called Shanico. As you guys have heard me talk about this, and probably a lot of other people recently, Shanico is having a moment, and partly because it has everything that's good about merino. The staple length, the bounciness, the just like the softness, and Rambouillet, which also has this kind of it's like a slightly different crimp, and it's got like a matte feeling, which is a little bit different from merino, and it's so nice. Rambouillet is also really bouncy and nice. It has like a good stitch memory. It's got all the good things that you want. They're in 4-ounce braids. This is the floofiest 4-ounce braid ever. And I have a bunch of these because I need a lot for a sweater. So we'll get into all of those details at some point. But I would like to show you, because last week, maybe even this week or on Monday, Trisha launched a new website. So YarnJam is up and functional, and it's new, but when she launched the new website, she also put up all of our colors. So I'm going to take a couple of screen grabs while I'm editing, but I'll put them up here now. So these are my colors in both the tweed and the natural. I have the natural, but the tweed is amazing. I will probably grab one braid of the tweed for me to do something with later. And that could be using in color work, or very likely just like making myself a hat so I can be fully decked out in my colors. That's what I want. She has, her tweed is also a Shanico blend, but it's 89% Shanico and 5% acrylic and 6% rayon. And that's fully just, the rayon and acrylic are like just the neps that go into it. They are colored neps, they're rainbow. She's not doing this on the natural neps right now. Though she has some of her yarn, like other braids are available on like a black white nep, or like a, you know, I don't know, natural colors. It's like neutralies. But the neps in this are red, yellow, blue, and green. So you can see them when you're looking at these pictures. Okay, let's go on to the next color. There are 5 podcasters in this collection. I've already talked about all of this, but I'm just telling you all the good details. So the second person, I'm just going to go for friend base. This is Ariel. These are Ariel's colors, Airy Knits. My friend Ariel has a podcast called Airy Knits, and I will link everybody's podcast below because I'm talking about them today. But also, if you go to the website, she has a playlist that she put all of our podcasts, like at least one episode from all of us in there. This is, Ariel's colors are gorgeous. They are super, super pretty. But like, and she has the softest colors of anybody, and it's all the things you would think of Ariel, but like a little bit. She's got like more yellows, which she's been really drawn to lately, the mustardy colors, and like this soft tealy color, and it's super pretty. As you might remember me saying, I didn't put teal in mine because there are more teal colors in this than not. And I was like, you know what? I mean, teal is definitely a jewel tone I can 100% get behind, but I'm just trying to give you something a little bit different. But those are hers in tweed and not tweed. Super gorgeous. Okay, here are, and you'll see, because I'm taking this like as screenshots just from her website, they all say sold out in the corner, and that's how they're posted on the website just until the actual launch, right? Like this is pretty normal, but she's putting the preview up. The next colors I'm going to show you are Emily's. So Emily, who I was just talking about, but Emily Kurt on Instagram, I think that's also what her podcast is under, but Gently Chaotic Knits for her patterns. If you watch her podcast at all, this should not be a shocker color. She's been spinning with it and she showed it a while back, but like she loves moody primary colors. That's like what we discussed. And this is that exactly. Red, blue, and yellow in the moody versions of these colors, and it's gorgeous. She's been spinning her tweed, and it is so pretty, super fluffy, super nice, and the tweed is like the most perfect in hers because it's got like all of her colors in the tweed too. Okay, the next color I'm going to show you is Marlene from Marlene Knits, and this color is so pretty and unexpected to me, though not really. So if you've been watching Marlene's podcast, she's a very neutral girly. She's like a grayish is her favorite color. But she has been knitting and she's really drawn to this teal color. So the warm tones of the brown chestnutty colors that are in this track. And when you spin it, it definitely becomes a little bit less, you know, like fierce of a color, a little bit. Because of the way Trisha's dyed this, there is still a little bit of space and a little bit of white in this. So it'll like cool everything down. Plus like it goes from really dark to like lighter of this like brownie color. And then the teal is super teal, super pretty. And hers, it's so nice. Hers also in the tweed is super gorgeous. I don't know. I will be getting some of each podcaster's color and I just don't know which. I think Emily, I have to get the tweed because it's the most perfect tweed combo. Ariel though, her tweed is really pretty and I just don't know if I want the tweed or if I want the like true Ariel color. I'm not sure. Marlene's, I couldn't tell you either. Like, this is a toss-up. I think Marlene's, I would do the non-tweed. That's my inclination. Okay, and then the last one, which is maybe my favorite. I don't know. I love them all so much. And they're all so, like, aesthetically perfect for people. This is Casey's color from Young Folk Knits. Casey's the most fun podcast. If you don't watch her, watch her. She sews great patterns. She's also a plus size maker. So I really love the patterns she picks, the things she does. She's a mom. She lives in the Ozarks. So she has a great accent. She's got like really good editing quality. Like if I was more scripted and or could spend more time or money on this podcast, she gets paid for some of this stuff and I don't at all. Right. So anyway, her podcast is so fun to watch. But she has this amazing color here that's got these olivey green bits, teals, light purple that almost bleeds pink, and like this, I don't even know, they're the lighter bits here, if you can tell, are dyed, but like the lightest, like key lime, like the lightest, like a key lime pie light green. And it's so pretty. There's some blue in here too, like just everything. I think for hers, I want the tweed, and for hers, I want to do a sweater spin. Another sweater spin. So I'm going to be, I'll be checking out with quite a lot of yarn. Okay, so how this pre-order is going to work too is that Trisha will have some in stock for all of the bases, all of the colors. And she thinks that she's dyed a fair bit. She is also going to be bringing this to fairs and stuff, like to different yarn shows across the East Coast this fall. If you want to see where she's going to be, I think she has a festival's schedule somewhere on her website. But she is also going to have in stock undyed to do pre-order. So just by popularity. Marlene and Casey are by far the most popular of our podcasts. So I would imagine maybe their colors go more. But like, who knows? I mean, maybe the people who are watching their podcast don't have the same color preferences and want in on this. Everyone is going to be getting a discount code. So use my discount code if you would. That's great. Like for me, it's not, I'm not getting a kickback from this, by the way. This is just for us to share discount codes with you. But I want mine to like have some impact on her sales. That would be fun. But anyway, so it will get you 15% off for anybody's colors in the podcaster collection. Not anything else that's ready to order or even dyed to order on her website, just the stuff from the podcaster collection. But I think that's super fun. So again, September 6th, noon Eastern, that's 9 on the East Coast, and September 6th is a Friday. So, you know, I don't think she'll sell out right away, but definitely like get on there on Friday sometime and order if you want, if you know what you want. That's why I love having the preview. So you get a little bit of time to decide how much you want, what do you want. I'll be ordering some. I might even combo spin one of them with another one. I'm not going to tell you which. We'll talk about it later. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. That's really fun. That's the only other news I have for today for us to chat about. And, yeah, I'm like very pumped about all the things coming up, fall, knitting, generally speaking, so many fun things. If you have questions about anything coming up, the patterns I'm making, the yarn I'm using, the, things I want to spin, please let me know. I want to know, what are your fall plans? I mean, obviously, if you didn't think that question was coming, like, come on. I want to know what you're knitting now, because obviously that's very fun. And I know some people are not giving up on summer yet. Do not give up on summer if you do not want to. But if you are ready for the fall, and if you've joined, like Emily has a apple knit along, which is just apple picking knit along, which is absolutely has nothing to do with any kind of pattern or even type of knit. It could just be like anything that you might wear apple picking and or not apple picking, just fall vibes, generally speaking. You can still DM her to get into this chat. It is really big. It's a very large chat, but it's been having like the very best of vibes, and everyone's been super sweet in there. A lot of stripe hype sweaters and influence happening in there, which is very fun. But I want to know, what are your fall plans? Like, what's the pattern you're most excited about? Do you have a yarn you're most excited about, or just like a color, generally speaking? Are you not making plans yet? When do you start your fall knitting? Like, just give me all these ideas. So for me, just like, so we're very clear, I don't think I'll actually start in any of my fall plans until the 1st of September. And then I'm going to kind of lean hard into fall. I will still have a t-shirt or two, as you saw with some of those plans in there, like the Bliss tank. I'm not going to probably cast on right now, but I think I'll do it this fall. And a couple other things. maybe also not on that list. Like the Korean is on that list, but maybe one other that I will like try to just keep a t-shirt on or near my needles, as in like next in the queue for the year, because I loved coming into spring with new t-shirts. I also definitely still feel like that's the lack in my closet. That I just keep leaning towards a couple of the same t-shirts. And part of that is I have a couple of t-shirts I don't wear very often to work. This one, my Wild Ivy, which has like a deeper neckline, and my ripple crop top worsted, which is a pretty low neckline. I just don't gravitate towards that as much for my workday, which is when I wear t-shirts the most. So keeping that in mind, knowing that now, making sure that my queue has some other things that I definitely will wear. I've been making and have plans for more cardigans, which also gives me more tank top ideas because I love to layer and knit. So yes, all of these things to say I'm excited for the fall. It's coming up. It's only a couple weeks away, and I'm going to get more of those plans settled, cemented in like a queue order, which does not mean I'll stick to it, but like for the rest of the year, plus some things wound up, because that will help me to stick to this. Okay, you shall see some new cast-ons next week. Thanks for hanging out with me. As always, have a really wonderful day, evening, week when you're knitting this. Keep the conversation going, and please reach out to me if you have any questions that you don't feel comfortable asking here. I am available on Instagram. I will answer you back. As long as it's not like a weird or creepy question, which I've not gotten any of this, so great. But I also have a Discord. We are going to keep doing monthly calls on the Discord. So the next one is going to be coming up, and I am kind of skipping August because we just had Flock and I'm still recovering and there's some other things happening. But I am going to put in probably this weekend some dates for an early-ish September knit along, knit chat with us. I also don't have any knit alongs planned with you guys for the rest of the year, but if you would like any of those things sounded interesting, please let me know and we can do it super casually. It could be just you and me. I love to buddy knit too. That's super fun. Reach out to me, let me know. And I might throw it out there, like a couple of the ones that I don't have any like feelings of time pressure, or I don't think I'll cook through super fast, so that we can more reasonably have people join. And sometimes for knit alongs, it's just great if it's like, this is just a buddy knit. That's all we're treating it as, encouragement. Reach out to me on Discord. Join my Discord. That's all I was going to say. Now I'm really signing off now. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.